Hello and namaste. I'm Guru Amora, your host with Enlightened TV. So, before we begin, let's go ahead and ask for the divine come in and lead the way. To the divine supreme God, divine Father, Mother, to all the holy saints of all traditions, to all the spiritual elders, to all the holy masters, ascended masters, to our divine soul, divine self, to all the holy angels, holy archangels. Thank you for your great, great blessings, your help, your healing, your guidance, your love, and your divine protection. So it is. Thank you. All right. So today we're going to be talking about how self love, the act of self love, can help us merge with our higher self and how we can do that. I'd like to share with you something that was channeled by uh, by the Cryon entity through Lee Carroll. And I will put a link to his channel, YouTube channel, below. You came here to Earth to meet your higher self, your sacred self, to walk with it and synchronize with it, unify. It's a forever unification. Loving yourself is knowing that you are a piece of God, knowing who you are. You love yourself enough to not step in certain kinds of vibrations or drama. You love yourself enough to have wisdom because of the unity that you found with the sparks of your sacred self. Self love is not vain. I recognize you, that which has been put within me, which is the love of God. For my entire life, thank you for living with me. Learning to love yourself will lead the planet and yourself to peace and compassion. All right, so that was a lot, but that was beautiful, and I hope you found that beautiful too. Let's break down the first part. You came here to Earth to meet your higher self, your sacred self, to walk with it and synchronize with it, unify, a forever unification. So, when we as souls incarnate to the physical body, to a physical body, we are in our infancy stage very much connected still to the heavenly realms. We're able to pick up the sensitivities of subtle vibrations such as angels, and we are in constant communication with them. There's a lot of support around the human being that is in the infancy stages. And as we get older, that starts to fade away. And we forget why it is we came here, why we reincarnated in this particular lifetime. We know as an infant because we just came from that divine heavenly place. That connection was and is still very strong at that particular point in our lives. But again, as we age, we're going to be spending the rest of our life remembering who we are, why we're here, and what our purpose is, what our soul's work is, what our soul mission is. And that's a lot to unpack and that's a lot to unfold. And for some, it can take an entire lifetime till the elderly stages of our human form to fully gain clarity on all of what that is. And it comes through reflection. But if you're determined and you're young And you realize these things at a young age that you awaken to the idea that you are here with purpose, that you are special, and that you do have something very great to do because you play a very big, impactful role here on the planet and its great awakening. And through that determination of wanting to figure that out, your higher self then comes down to meet you with your physical self. And the unification that happens with the lower self, which is our earthly self, from our higher self, which is our divine soul, divine uh, uh, energetic frequency, which is located in our soul star chakra, which rests generally speaking a foot or two above our head. And just to give you an idea from a bird's eye perspective, our divine soul, divine self, our soul star chakra, sitting above our crown area. That soul star chakra knows who and what it is. It's not the actions, thoughts, words, emotions, or feelings. It is the soul. It is the animator. It is the author animating the life from the human form. The eyes are the window to the soul. So if you were to go inward for a moment, and as you open your eyes, you are in this observation mode, perception. That's you, your soul star, animating yourself, making decisions, using divine will, divine love, and your divine intelligence to move through life. And the soul is on its own evolutionary journey. And when it comes down to meet the lower self, when the lower self, and when I say lower, I don't mean by uh, that it's not of value, of it's not of significance, because it is. These are our holy temples. These are our these are our vessels that carry the soul. And when that part of our consciousness awakens and we feel the call to know more, to discover more, and to delve deeper into what it is our purpose is, to awaken that God seed within us. That's when the higher self, the higher soul, merges with the lower self. And that's what creates that unity. It's so beautiful. And once you have awakened to that happening, that occurrence, that experience, you're able to then step back and really observe the experience for what it is. And it goes with you, it follows on a level at which you're living your highest potential. Because you are actively taking the high road. And actively taking the high road means that we're making decisions that are compassionate, that are loving and meaningful, because we know that our actions, our words, our thoughts, and our feelings affect not only ourselves and our life and the reality that we experience, but we also realize that it also has an effect on our relationships, on our abilities to succeed in our career, on our ability to create good karma. we feel much reward. It's almost like an eternal reward that stays with us when we do acts of service from the heart. And there's a great peace that washes over you, ananda, conscious bliss, that happens when you are actively making decisions and using your will, your heart, and your intelligence to take the high road, because that's what the higher self does. Because as the higher self merges with the lower self, all that is really occurring is that the higher self is now more integrated in the human vessel, and it's driving the car. That God self is driving the car, not your lower self, not your emotions, not your words, not your thoughts, and not your actions. Because you can be succumbed to those, and you can dip really low when those emotions get really icky, and you can go really, really high when those emotions get lighter. But even when we're happy, that doesn't define us. The four aspects of our natural state of being are ease, joy, knowing, and liberation. These are our birthrights, and these are actually our natural state of being. But when we reincarnate into this earthly version of ourselves, we experience something called life. And when we experience something called life, we go through ups and downs. We have the human experience of doubt, of worry, of fear, all those things. And it's part of the human experience. But the human experience is all the more lighter and easier when we start to integrate our higher self, and we allow the higher self to make the decisions. We allow the higher self to take over. And know that, and there's emotion here because it's so beautiful. When the higher self, when you surrender to God, when you surrender to knowing that you're doing your best and you feel good about it because you've given you've given the control over to your higher self, because your higher self knows what's best for you. Your higher self wants you to experience ease, joy, knowing, and liberation. And it's going to guide you there, and it's always there guiding you. You just got to tap in, tune in, attune to the guidance. And that comes through the four clairs: clairaudience, claircognizance, uh, audience, sentience, cognizance, and clairvoyance. So hearing, seeing, hearing, knowing, and feeling messages that you're intuit, intuiting, as opposed to interpreting. Interpreting is using the human brain to disassemble what it is that you're experiencing so that you can gather the information needed to understand your experience. But when we intuit, it's a knowing. And there's signs and there's synchronicities that our higher selves, as well as our angelic team of light, give us that are clues that we are on the right path, that we are doing the right things. But having the human experience, we doubt those things, we ignore those things. And that's part of the human experience. And it's okay. But by giving ourselves grace and knowing that we are going through a human experience and we validate them, but then we also choose again our thoughts, our actions, our words, and our feelings, we can then shift ourselves and move back into the direction of our destiny, of our river of life and into the flow of where it's going, as opposed to swimming against the current with the doubt and the fear and the worry and so on and so forth. So I hope you understand that particular concept. Now, the second part, loving yourself is knowing that you are a piece of God, knowing who you are. You love yourself enough not to step in certain kinds of vibrations or drama. You love yourself enough to have wisdom because of the unity that you found with the sparks of your sacred self. Self-love is not in vain. And this is speaking to boundaries. Boundaries are a crucial thing that you have to have in order to feel self-love, self-care. Self-love and self-care looks like I'm not going to my family reunion this year because every time I do, there's always some kind of fight. I feel small, I feel disempowered, I feel all these all these negative sensations, unpleasant sensations that just bring me down. And then when I leave the family reunion, I have to delve into self-love to bring myself back up to where I once was before I even went. And that looks like maybe uh, going to therapy, getting massage, um, reading affirmations and practicing them until you feel them, in your being because you actually believe them. But had you not gone in the first place, that's where you already were. But because you experienced the family reunion, it brought you so down because of all the drama that went down. It just spiraled out of control. And it brought it with you, and it brought it down with you, and it brought you down with it. Excuse me. I hope that's making some clear sense to you. Self love is having respect for knowing who you are and what it is you need. And if you need to hermit, to create the boundaries that you need from the world around you because it feels so dangerous, then do it. If you feel called to hermit, do it. Because in that hermiting stage, there's a lot of introspection that can occur. But I will say that it is very important, even though when we do choose to hermit, that we have at least 1 to 2 outlets that are supporting our growth and our processing of life and why we're choosing to hermit. And these can look like therapy, these can look like journaling, this can look like talking to God and tuning in and tapping into our angels and their loving guidance. I'm gonna tell you this right now, and this could possibly be the best single most advice that I've given so far, is that if the advice that you receive or the instructions you receive do not feel loving, do not sound loving, then the likelihood of it being loving is not probably possible. Now, there are many faces of love. There's one face that looks like sternness when a child is about to cross the road and they're not looking either direction and they're just frolicking, trying to catch a butterfly or trying to run up to their friend and say hello, whom they haven't seen in a long time, but they're not paying attention to the oncoming traffic. And so a stern, loving voice would be, "Hey, look both ways before you cross." It could be, "Hey, don't touch the stove, it's hot." It can also look like we've given instruction to someone not to do something many times, enough times to the point where we're getting tired of telling them that they need to step up, level up. And sometimes letting the person go and make the mistake is the love that you need to give them because life has two teachers: a teacher who has wisdom that shares it with you to the student. These can be from books, these can be from physical people, these can be from our guides. Excuse me. And these are messages of love. And then there's the other teacher called life itself, where we choose to say, nope, I'm going to go my own way. I think I've got this, and I don't need anyone's help. And there might be even some thank you, I really don't need help. Like there can be some politeness behind that. And that's when the person experiences life through trial and error. And I just want to say, guess who's kinder? The teachers, the people, the books, the guides that were placed in your life who've been there, done that, and are seeing things from different perspectives to help you. If you choose to go the route of going your own way, that's great. But just know that there are repercussions for every action we take. So, yeah, there's that. And love can also have the facet of holding you while you're crying in their arms. Love can look like, hey, I know you can do better, and I'm here to push you. I'm here to be that good friend. Or it can look like, hey, I'm just trying to be a good friend, and I'm seeing that these behaviors of yours are really playing as a detriment to your well being. And I'm not going to be your friend moving forward if you continue to indulge in these behaviors because I don't align with it. And I don't believe that you align with it either. Here's some phone numbers of some recovery centers that can help you. But I can't be there for you anymore. I love myself too much to be around you, to be around your pain and despair and your agony, because we all rub off on each other, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And I can't take it anymore. I've been here for you for so long, and I'll be there with you in my heart. But I can't continue down this road if you're going to continue to be that. Thank you. Thank you for our time together, but it doesn't serve me anymore. Okay. I also want to say something to and about our inner child. Our inner child has a critical role in our ability to self heal, to heal. It has a critical role in our self love. Because of the wounds that we experienced in our childhood, they stay with us in our adult life and they bleed out into our adult lives, which creates the perpetual toxic patterning that keeps us stuck, feeling stuck. But if we were just to slow down and see ourselves in these patterns, we'd know that there is a way out. And most of the time, it goes back to the inner child because the inner child has something that it wants to show you, that it wants to speak about, that it wants to bring to you, because it knows that if you can parent that inner child who has that core wound, if you can give that inner child the love that it so needed and deserved at that age, that's now showing up in your adult life, you can heal that part of you. I recommend that you do this with a professional, such as myself or someone you know who can help you with those. But self love is knowing that our inner child is constantly there, always living inside of us, showing itself. And sometimes it comes out in forms of wanting to play and wanting to be goofy and wanting to be fun, flirt with life. And in other times, it wants to throw tantrums. It wants to be angry. It wants to just be itself and feel okay and feel safe in doing so. So please feel safe in doing so with yourself first, because there is more inside of you than anyone could ever give you, and that is you within you. I recognize you, that which has been put inside of me, which is the love of God for my entire life. Thank you for living with me. Learning to love yourself will lead the planet and yourself to peace and compassion. Wow, that right there is our first step as the planet and as our own individual responsibility to recognize that in order to create world peace, peace begins and ends with me, with you, with ourselves. Because if we can't have that inner peace inside of us already, how in the world are we going to create peace outside of ourselves? Everyone on this earth is responsible for their own peace. because it takes a very mature person to realize that everything is happening outside of self. And that as long as that role is accepted and known, there can be peace within because there can be control over oneself, over one's actions, thoughts, words, and feelings because you are the soul. And the soul and the four divine aspects of that soul are ease, joy, knowing, and liberation. That's its natural state. So if we take ownership of these four aspects and know that these are innately our own, then we can know that we can get there, that it is possible to have inner peace. And inner peace starts with loving ourselves so much that we choose the high road every time to get there, to feel that, to experience ease, joy, knowing, and liberation. I think my selfie stick just went out. So I think that's our time to meditate now. So I want you to now with this message, I invite you to close your eyes and place your hands on your sternum, on your heart center in Anjali Mudra. And I want you to think about simple acts you can do for yourself in order to create and cultivate that inner peace. What acts of self love are knocking at our door, calling us to practice, to do, to experience? I'd like you to think of at least three things at this time. And I will put some out there if you're having difficulty knowing what that might look like or feel like. This can look like drawing a bath for ourselves, dumping in some oils and some salts, lighting a candle, and sitting in silence as we let the waters exfoliate our skin and pull out all the toxic waste and the soreness and the stiffness in our bones and our muscles. And focusing on that candle flame and realizing that that flame resembles the heart flame of our higher self. This can also look like taking time in the mornings to set aside activities that really resonate with our soul, that help us start our day off to a really great note. Sometimes this can look like yoga. Sometimes this can look like meditation, talking to God, praying. If you give your heart's desires and surrender your heart's desires to God and you put a label on them, you speak them out loud and perhaps you even write them down and you say, God, this is yours. These are the things that I want and these are the things that I think would make me happy. So I'm going to give these things to you, and I know that you'll give me back what it is that I truly need. And sometimes this can look different than the list that we write down or that we say. But if we reflect, when we do receive these things, we'll realize that everything that was given to us was there to serve us, to help us grow and evolve, to help us heal. We can also practice gratitude for our well being, that we are able bodied, that we have a functioning heart, that we have a functioning brain that's able to think and cognize the words that I'm speaking to you right now, to put into action. Thank you for the divine will. Thank you for the roof over my head. Thank you, me, as you say to you, thank you, me, for everything that you have done and all the goodness that you've created in my life. Thank you for your authenticity, for your realness. Authenticity is a very high functioning expression of self love. Being authentic is having integrity for the knowing of who we truly are and not having any sort of shame around it, but just being who we are as we show up. Compassion, giving ourselves grace and love. That's a reverent act of self love. So, these are just the few that I have thought of on your behalf. And I know that you can think of more. And what I'd like you to do is, I'd like you to journal about these things as you're seeing them in your mind's eye or feeling them. And then share them in the chat below of the things that you chose to do and how you felt after you did them, and how it's creating habits like these that are going to change your life for the better because you're choosing to put you and your well being first. Never forsake your well being for the sake of another. Do what you can, but not at the sake of your well being. That's what that is. It's not vain. And if you choose to save someone's life for the sake of your own, that's that's beautiful. And I'm not condemning that. But do you. Be you. Do what feels best for you. That's living authentic to you. And so let's just open our hands and do some cleansing. We're going to chant Om 10 times. And I just want you to imagine all the ick and the muck going out of your hands and out of your feet. So if your feet are crossed, go ahead and uncross them. And imagine this icky, black, grayish muck coming out of your hands, out of your feet, and out of the base of your spine, and down into Mother Earth as she neutralizes it and transmutes it to blessings for the earth and all of its inhabitants. And when you do chant Om, don't forget to place your tongue at the roof of your palate towards the end of the of the chant. So let's go ahead and take a deep inhale. You slowly open your eyes. Welcome back. So, from my heart to yours, this has been Guru Mora with Enlightened TV. Until next time, namaste.